Hey y'all, if you are not subscribed to my channel, make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button. All right, y'all, so let's go ahead and jump right into this story. So, if you did not know, the case of red flag laws is basically getting ready to head to the Supreme Court. So, I've done previous content on red flag laws, which means that a police officer can basically come into your home and confiscate your firearms without due process. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this and why this is problematic, and also some of the parallels that we see between this and HR 127, which I already broke that legislation that's been introduced by Sheila Lee Jackson for more gun control. I broke that down on Tuesday night, and so I'll drop that link below as well. But so let's kind of go ahead and take a look at this, but this is a longer article, so I'm mostly going to paraphrase, but y'all know that like literally 99.8% of the time I'm going to show you guys my sources because I want you to also go and read them, see with your own eyes. This is according to your mainstream news media what is going on. Okay, so the Supreme Court will decide whether police can enter a home to seize guns without a warrant. That's what we're going to see happening here, going to the Supreme Court. So let me go ahead and paraphrase just a little bit to tell y'all what's going on. So the Fourth Amendment is basically a constitutional right for privacy. Okay, it's a right against warrantless searches of a person's, home and things like that. So, with that, there are some exceptions to the Fourth Amendment that includes like demanding, circumstances. So, if an officer is riding by or walking by your home and for whatever weird reason he's able to see through your windows and somebody is choking to death or somebody is about to stab you and he can see the shadow, coming through the window, then he can burst into your home, under those exceptions to stop a threat or to save somebody's life in these emergency situations. Now, in broader situations, there are exceptions called community caretaking, where it's basically an extension of that. If an officer feels like under somewhat immediate circumstances, or if it entails keeping the community safe, then they can also work around your Fourth Amendment. Now, if it's reasonable. Now, there's been, of course, vigorous debate about this. Does it extend to your home? Does it extend to your car? And things like that. Well, there was recently a situation or a case that's going to be going up to the Supreme Court called Canaglia versus Strom. So, in this case, you had Canaglia, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, the husband who was arguing with his wife. Okay, melodramatically, he has this unloaded firearm. He places it on the table and he's like, why don't you just shoot me now and get it over with? His wife called the non-emergency police at some point. She went and stayed at a hotel. Police arrived some point after. They asked Mr. Canaglia to, just go seek medical help, get a review, and things like this. While he was on the way to the hospital, his wife told the police where he kept his two handguns. So they go into his house without a warrant. They take the handguns. They seize them. After he got out of the facility, he's like, what's going on? Give me my firearms back. They would not give them back. He talks about how this is against his Fourth Amendment and his Second Amendment right. They ended up going to the circuit court, and the first circuit court sided with the police, basically saying that this was caretaking doctrine and that the police had a little bit of wiggle room to take these actions. Well, now this is going to be going up to the Supreme Court because it's like, this is against my Fourth Amendment. This is against the Bill of Rights. First of all, the police officers basically used false information to talk my wife into having them confiscate those firearms from my house in the first place. And so this is red flag laws, okay? That's just what it is. This is loopholes that they're now trying to use to enter into people's home without a warrant, without having a judge sign off on it. We've seen evidence, we've seen videos of police planting evidence, making up lies, trying to talk around things and find wiggle room to carry out the agenda or whatever they're doing at the time. So this is a very slippery slope in trying to find loopholes in these red flag laws. I've also talked about the people, okay, that are more likely to be the most impacted by these laws. If we're literally looking at gun control and the cities and the areas where gun control is usually the strictest, and we see the police officers and the sheriffs or whoever, law enforcement, carrying these gun control restrictions out the most, it's typically in inner cities, okay, liberal cities. We often see it is young black men being affected by gun control. I've done content before on red flag laws as how this has affected people and played out. And so this is a very slippery slope. It's a very slippery slope. Aligning this with also HR 127, that is more gun control and more gun restrictions. It's giving the local authorities too much reign over people's ability to protect themselves. Too much. Red flag laws give police officers too much authority when we've already seen. I don't understand how you could literally come off the heels of 2020, come off the heels of the George Floyd protests, come off the heels of a Breonna Taylor with the no knock warrant. I don't see how you could come off the heels of things like this and then they just introduce this type of legislation like it's all cool and like people are going to be so down with it. And it's a reason why the media is not making parallels with this for who it's going to really affect, who it can be used against, and who can be restricted from protecting themselves under this type of legislation. And so it's unfortunate. We don't want to see this happen. I broke a lot of this down in my video on Tuesday. Also, we have to keep in mind, even with this particular guy, Mr. Canaglia, right? He already did not want to go to the medical facility. He was like, dude, like it was just a melodramatic moment. I was being extra. The gun was unloaded. But if y'all are going to pressure me and coerce me into going, all right, look, I'll go. Let's get it over with. He goes, you trick him into taking his firearms after. You basically tricked his wife into somewhat casually, I don't even know if you could call it permission, but telling you where he kept his firearms at. Now think about all of the people who, if they are having any type of depression, which we know looking at the rates of depression and people on psychotropic drugs right now compared to previous generations. We have some of the highest levels of people just dealing with the everyday humdrum. Tired of my job or whatever. It could be due to the stress of COVID and the lockdowns and missing their family and interaction. And you want to tell these people that they don't deserve the ability to protect themselves. And so naturally, that's going to discourage some people from wanting to go to these medical facilities and get checked out and see what's going on and see if we can implement other plans if there are immediate circumstances that they need to not have their firearm in a moment. We won't know because you're discouraging people from doing so and taking that step. And then you have a HR 127 that's basically introducing the idea that with any hint of that, this attorney general approved psychiatrist can just write you off and be like, nah, like, with this diagnosis, no, you don't deserve to have a firearm. You don't deserve to protect your life. So these are just some things that we need to be paying attention to. We need to be vigilant about. I don't understand. I do understand. I'm not going to lie. I was about to say I don't understand why Black Lives Matter doesn't make parallel comparisons to how these issues are also infringements, how these issues also end up with more police officer interactions, more police presence, more constitutional rights being infringed upon. I was going to say I don't know why, but I do know why. It doesn't fit their agenda. It doesn't fit their agenda. Even though this same type of legislation is also sending young men into prisons because of possession, right? Nonviolent, no actual crime committed, no robbery, no brandishing. You can literally kidnap a person for gun possession, but they don't even address it. They don't even act like this exists. Yet this is still funneling more people into this same prison system. And don't even get me started on all the people who were I don't even know what to call it, but negative or opposed to the constitutional rights that should have been due to people like Breonna Taylor and I can't even think of the other guy's name right now. It's not coming to me, right? But two of those big no knock warrant cases, I think 2020 and yeah, I think both were in 2020. But even the parallels with that, right? And so this is why we have to be adamant about these things. We have to be fair. We have to keep that same energy. We have to be objective because these things are parallel. And when we don't act like they're parallel and we pretend otherwise and we allow our biases to creep in and we think we're going to pick and choose who deserves to be protected and who doesn't, who deserves constitutional rights and who doesn't, that's when the politicians know it and they use that to their advantage because now they don't have to address it because they know that people are going to pick and choose. Um, so we need politicians to address these things holistically. Not there is no picking and choosing. A privacy infringement is a privacy infringement. A Second Amendment, First Amendment, whatever infringement is just that. So we have to call these things out, but those are just my thoughts. Leave your thoughts below. Don't forget to subscribe. Bye.